Here are the top stories of the news. Suspended Governor of River State, Siminalayi Fubara visits President Bola Tinubu in Lagos. Here in Osun State, Amotekun Corps arrests 5 suspects for drugs-related offenses. And on the foreign scene, 5 members of United Nations convoy carrying aid to Sudan killed in attack. Good afternoon and welcome to Spring News at 12 on Western Spring Television. I am Femi Ojo. The suspended governor of Rivers State, Sim Fubara, on Tuesday visited President Bola Tinubu in Lagos. Presidential spokesman Bayo Onanuga posted photos of the duo during the meeting. However, details of what transpired during the visit is yet to be known. The visit came after Tinubu suspended Fubara, his deputy Ngozi Odu, and members of the River State House of Assembly over a protracted political crisis rocking the state. However, since Fubara's suspension, he has repeatedly expressed interest in peace in the oil-rich state and a desire to settle with Wike, whom he described as his boss. Similarly, President Tinubu hosted the Osun State Governor Ademola Adeleke, his brother Adedeji Adeleke, and Afrobeat superstar David Adeleke, known as Davido, at his private residence in Ikoyi, Lagos. The visit on the evening of Tuesday, ahead of the Eid el-Kabir celebration, was shared by Governor Adeleke on his official X account. While the specific details of the closed-door meeting were not disclosed, the visit follows Davido's earlier meeting with President Tinubu at the presidential villa in Abuja just days before, indicating ongoing engagement between the Adeleke family and the presidency. President Bola Tinubu has conferred the national honor of the Commander of the Order of the Federal Republic, CFR, on Microsoft co-founder and philanthropist Bill Gates. The conferment took place on Tuesday in Lagos as part of Gates' ongoing visit to Nigeria to discuss key health and development initiatives. Gates, who is the chair of the Gates Foundation, is visiting Nigeria to engage with federal and state leaders on strengthening the country's primary healthcare system. According to a statement from the Gates Foundation, Gates will also participate in a Goalkeepers Nigeria event focused on Africa's innovation future and hold talks with local scientists and partners contributing to Nigeria's national strategy on artificial intelligence and health solutions. The foundation added that the opening of offices in South Africa, Kenya, Nigeria, and Senegal, alongside its first African office in Ethiopia over a decade ago, reflects its commitment to deepening partnerships across the continent. A yet-to-be-identified man has reportedly fallen from one of the top floors of the Cocoa House, a building in Ibadan State. The incident, which threw the entire business community into panic, occurred in the early hours of Monday. According to reports, the man reportedly jumped from the 23rd floor, where the museum is housed within the historic edifice, with his condition remaining unclear as the fall could have been fatal. Odua Investment Company, the firm managing the iconic building, confirmed the unfortunate incident in a release. In a statement, the head of branding and communication of the company, Victor Ayetoro, said the individual involved was swiftly attended to by the emergency response team and taken to the University College Hospital, Ibadan, for urgent medical attention. In the meantime, the federal government has said the flood in Mokwa town in Niger State was primarily caused by heavy rainfall due to extreme weather conditions occasioned by climate change, unregulated buildings, construction activities, and poor drainage infrastructure. The Minister of Water Resources and Sanitation, Professor Joseph Youssef, stated these while reacting to the situation of flash floods that hit Mokwa at the ministry's headquarters in Abuja yesterday. According to the minister, the dams did not collapse during recent flooding. He instead attributed the overflow to climate change and unusually heavy rainfall. He also said a team of technical experts from the ministry and various agencies are currently assessing the damage and working on solutions. The minister further urged state governments and stakeholders to follow early warning systems and implement preventive actions to reduce future flooding.
The hours of Thursday, 29 May 2025, the Federal Ministry of Water Resources and Sanitation extends its heartfelt sympathy and solidarity to the government and the good people of Niger State, especially the affected communities in Mokwa who have experienced losses, deaths, and displacement as a result of this natural disaster. I'd like to emphasize that the flood was not caused by water release from either the Kanji or Jeba dams, and that both dams are intact and safe.
In Benue State, Governor Yassin Talia and the State Commissioner of Police, MNRE Ifeanyi, have differed on the casualty figure of Sunday armed headers attacks on two local government areas of the state. Some suspected armed headers in a coordinated attacks invaded Naka and Ediku Ampali in Gwa West and Upper local governments, respectively, unleashed terror, leading to loss of 43 people, according to the locals. However, the state governor, speaking after a security meeting on Monday night, said 23 people lost their lives, 12 in Napa and 11 in Gwa West. The governor said he had ordered joint security forces to immediately move into the affected areas and beyond, noting that their mission is to stop the violence and restore peace to the areas. Also, in a statement issued today by the State Police Command, they put the death toll at 22, 10 persons at Akwa and 12 persons in Gwa West. The spokesperson of the command, DSP Udeme Edit, said the state police boss has assured the affected communities of its resolve to fight the attackers till they submit to the rule of law.
We had some horrible attacks again in Apa local government and Go West. It started with the Go West. Before midnight, the attackers were repelled, but then much afterwards again, they came back in larger numbers. So I'm just coming out from a meeting with the security heads in the state, the military, the police, the civil defense, and the DSS, and all the security advisors. So they've been directed to move immediately to the two local governments.
Here in Osun State, the Amotekun Corps have arrested 5 suspects for drugs-related offenses. The Corps commander, Isaac Omoyele, said the 5 suspects were found in possession of cannabis sativa and Indian hemp at the point of arrest. Omoyele said the suspects were arrested after a tipper from a good Samaritan of the activities in Ejigbo town, Ejigbo local government area of the state. Also paraded were 30-year-old Shogo Riade and 28-year-old Asimi Utohib for armed robbery in the Unity area of Oshogbo. The Osun Amotekun boss also disclosed that 5 suspects were arrested in Itapa, Atakumaza East local government area of the state. And away from security, the Deputy Speaker of the Ondo State House of Assembly, Abayomi Akinruntan, and the Majority Leader, Ugumola Shui, resigned from their respective positions. Akinruntan represents Ilaja Constituency 1, while Ugumola Shui represents Owo Constituency 1. Both are members of the ruling Progressive Congress APC. The pair announced their resignations on the floor of the House during yesterday's plenary session, which was presided over by the Speaker Olamide Oladije. Akinruntan cited political power-sharing arrangement within the state as the reason for his resignation. In the wake of the developments, Ololade Gbegudu, representing Okitipupa Constituency 2, has been selected as the new Deputy Speaker, while Olatunji Oshati from Ose State Constituency has assumed the role of Majority Leader. Moving on, the Judiciary Staff Union of Nigeria, JSUN, has suspended its ongoing strike action and directed its members to resume work on Wednesday. A communique issued and signed by the National Vice President of the Association alongside 10 other members of the association's leadership disclosed that the decision to end the strike came after long deliberations on the issues that led to the action. The stakeholders agreed that the union should oblige the intervention of the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Kudirat Kekereekun, and the Minister of Labour and Employment, Muhammad Dingyadi, the Nigeria Labour Congress NLC, and other stakeholders. Part of the agreement included that the suspension of the strike would allow the union to engage the federal government to ensure the release of funds to the judiciary within a month. The union had on Monday begun the action which grounded proceedings at some courts across the country. The union bemoaned the federal government's inability to release funds for the 70,000 naira minimum wage, settle the 5-month wage arrears, and implement the 25 to 35% salary increase. A former chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, Abdul Rashid Bawa, has alleged a staggering scale of corrupt practices used to siphon public funds under the guise of fuel subsidy payments. According to a statement, Bawa revealed this in his book titled The Shadow of Loot and Losses Uncovering Nigeria's Petroleum Subsidy Fraud. The statement said the book exposes Nigeria's multi-trillion naira fuel subsidy scandal, unraveling the inner workings of one of the country's most pervasive financial crimes. Bawa, drawing from his first-hand experience as a key investigator on the EFCC special team that probed the 2012 subsidy fraud, reveals the complexity and audacity of the corrupt schemes they used. According to the statement, the former head of the anti-graft agency chronicled how billions of naira were embezzled through ghost importing and over-invoicing as companies submitted claims for fuel that was never imported or inflated shipment volumes to receive excessive subsidy payouts. Another firm adopted by the perpetrators of the scandals, as revealed in the book, is the manipulation of bills of lading, where fraudsters exploited international price fluctuations to claim higher subsidies by altering shipping documents. These practices, Bauer explained, were boosted by forged documents, weak regulatory oversight, and systemic collusion between corrupt government officials and private sector actors. You're watching Spring News at 12 on Western Spring Television. We'll be right back after this break. Stay with us.
Illegal bushmeat is not cool, but it's on sale in our cities, risking extinction and our health. And many of our iconic wild animals are threatened. So please be cool and say no to illegal bushmeat. And let's make Nigeria better for wildlife and safer for us all. Keep them wild, keep us safe.
You're welcome back. The federal government is set to construct 100 houses in each of the 774 local government areas of the country. The Minister of State for Housing and Urban Development, Yusuf Attar, disclosed this in Kano on Tuesday evening when the Deputy President of the Senate, Barrow Jibrin, received hundreds of supporters of the new Nigeria People's Party (NNPP) who defected to the All Progressives Congress, the APC. It said under the new initiative, a total of 77,400 houses will be constructed across the country, of which Kano State would get 4,400 houses. Atta urged the defectors and people of Kano State to support the administration of President Bola Tinubu in his continued efforts to improve the lives of all Nigerians. It said such efforts included the provision of affordable houses under the renewed Hope housing agenda across the country. On the foreign scene, 5 members of the United Nations convoy carrying aid to the war-torn Sudanese city of El Fasher have been killed in an attack. UN agencies said several people were also injured and multiple trucks burnt in Monday night's assault which took place near El Koma, the state of North Darfur. The two sides in Sudan's grueling civil war, the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces RSF and the regular army, have accused each other of striking the UN convoy with drones. The UN did not say how the attack happened, but called for an urgent investigation and for the perpetrators to be held to account. The convoy was made up of 15 trucks from the UN's Food and Children's agencies, who said it was devastating that the aid did not reach famine-stricken El Fasher, the last major location in North Darfur under army control. The joint statement from the World Food Programme and the UN Children's Agency, UNICEF, said the convoy was attempting to reach children and families in the city with life-saving food and nutrition supplies when it was attacked. At least 95 Palestinians have been killed and 440 injured in Israeli attacks across Gaza in the past 24 hours. This is according to the enclave's health ministry. Israel's military has warned the starving Palestinians in Gaza against approaching roast to the US-backed aid distribution site run by the controversial Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, which will be closed for a whole day for renovation, reorganization, and efficiency improvement work. Similarly, the president of the International Committee of the Red Cross said Gaza has become worse than hell on earth. Mirjana Spojaric says Palestinians have been stripped of human dignity and international humanitarian law has been hollowed out. Meanwhile, the United Nations Security Council is set to vote on a resolution calling for a ceasefire and humanitarian access to Gaza, a measure expected to be vetoed by the United States. And in the US, Elon Musk has hit out at President Donald Trump's signature tax and spending bill, describing it as a disgusting abomination in a widening rift between the two allies. The budget, which includes multi-trillion-dollar tax breaks and more defense spending, while also allowing the U.S. government to borrow more money, was passed by the House of Representatives last month. Musk said in a post on X about the legislative linchpin of Trump's second-term agenda that shame on those who voted for it. The tech billionaire left the administration abruptly last week after 129 days working to cut costs with his team known as DOGE. The comments mark his first public disagreement with Trump since leaving government after having previously called the plan disappointing. And in business, the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Ekwerikpe Ekwo, has inaugurated the first ever liquefied to compressed natural gas hub in the northeast of Nigeria. The minister said the development is a testament to the potential of public-private collaboration in advancing the federal government's decade of gas agenda. The minister mentioned that the country was setting a new benchmark for energy accessibility and sustainability through the project by Greenville LNG. The statement by spokesman Louise Ba quoted Ekpo as saying President Bola Tinubu had made it a national priority to harness Nigeria's gas resources for economic transformation, industrialization, and social development. According to him, the LCNG model creates an integrated solution for powering vehicles and industrial equipment with both LNG and CNG, offering cleaner, cheaper alternatives to diesel and petrol. He also called on other investors and gas developers to invest in the LCNG project, noting that there is still so much ground to cover and so many communities that remain underserved. And now sport. A brace from Rasheedat Ajibade was all the Super Falcons of Nigeria needed to earn a comfortable 2-0 victory over the indomitable Lionesses of Cameroon in an international friendly on Tuesday. Nigeria took the lead in the 20th minute of play at the MKO Abiola Stadium in Abeokuta, Ogun State, when Ajibade won a penalty and converted the same. The Super Falcons pressed on, threatening the Cameroonian defense as Ajibade, who recently left Atletico Madrid, pushed for Nigeria's second. But the Central African held them out, barely surviving. But 2 minutes before halftime, it was Nigeria who expectedly scored another goal. The win was the Super Falcons' 15th victory over their neighbors in 21 games. Manchester City have agreed a €55 million deal with AC Milan for Netherlands midfielder Tijani Reinders. The 26-year-old will sign a 5-year contract at Etihad Stadium after agreeing personal terms with City. The deal, which is subject to a medical, includes additional payments if certain clauses are met. City hope to complete a deal for Reinders in time for the Club World Cup, which kicks off on June 14. His arrival will strengthen an area of the pitch that has been weakened by injury to Mateo Kovacic, who has been ruled out of the 32-team tournament in the United States after undergoing Achilles surgery. Midfielder Kevin De Bruyne is also expected not to be involved in the tournament, with a move to Serie A champions Napoli looking increasingly likely. And before we end the news, here is a recap of our major stories. The suspended governor of Rivers State, Siminala Ifubara, on Tuesday visited President Bola Tinubu in Lagos. And here in Osun State, the Amotekun Corps have arrested 5 suspects for drugs-related offenses. On the foreign scene, 5 members of the United Nations convoy carrying aid to the war-torn Sudanese city of El Fasher have been killed in an attack. You can follow us on our social media handles on Facebook, Instagram, and X at Western Spring Television. And you can also watch us live on our YouTube channel at Western Spring TV. That ends Spring News at 12. I am Femi Ojo. Thank you for watching. Enjoy the best and the rest of your day.